Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am Inkugaki, and in this video today, finally we're going to learn how to make the body X, Y, and Z movements. Let's begin. Alright guys, let's see what we are working with. This model is really simple, so we have just a small amount of pieces. We have the chest, we have the body, we have the legs that in this case, they are going to be a single piece. We have the arms that I separated in the arm and hands, but we're going to treat them as one single piece. And also, if you have an arm that is divided in arm and forearm, this method is going to apply as well, okay? So not to worry about that. Okay, now let's go to the parameters. In the parameters, we have three parameters that are body X, Y, and body Z, alright? So, in what way are they different from the angle X, Y, and Z that we've been using this whole time? Well, long story short, there's no difference. You could perfectly animate the body using angle X, Y, and Z parameters, but I recommend you guys to use the body X, body Y, and body Z, because the cool thing about it is that if we separate these output settings, right, the parameters, we're going to have more control later on our tracking software. So once that's explained, let's start. The first part for animating our body is going to make the warp deformers, okay? So I'm going to select the body first, and I'm going to create a warp deformer of body. Now this warp deformer is going to contain only the body. We're not going to put the chest here. In fact, the chest is going to have its own warp deformer, okay? Now, if your character have items that are linked to the body, for example, a chest, clothes, or chains, or something like that, please make the respective warp deformers for each part, okay? It might be a little bit of work, but it's going to pay off later because you're going to have more control with them, okay? Once we have the warp deformer of body and chest, I'm going to start animating. I'm going to go to the parameter body X, and I'm going to create 3 keyframes while selecting the warp deformer of body. Now, these transformations might be a little bit different from the angle X and Y transformation that we usually do, because when we look for one side, the idea of the body is that it's going to rotate just a tiny bit, okay? Something like this. Now, once we have this, we can continue with the transformation of the chest. So I'm going to go back to body X, and I'm going to create 3 keyframes, and I'm going to move the chest a little bit like this. Alright guys, now we have our body X movement in our -10 keyframe, right? You guys can see that it's something really simple, it's really subtle, and I recommend you to maintain it like that, okay? Now we're going to go with the arm, and since my arm is really simple, I'm going to select the arm, and also I'm going to select the hand. And these two are going to be in a single warp deformer. Now, what happens if your arm is more complex like this? If it has an arm and then a forearm, right? What I recommend to do so would be to have the arm, forearm, and hand on the same warp deformer, so you can move the position of the arm as a whole in the body X parameter. But each piece of the arm should be separated in its own warp deformer, so you can animate it and rotate them as you see fit, okay? Once that's out of the way, I'm going to go to body X again, and I'm going to create 3 keyframes for the arm, and I'm going to animate accordingly. Alright guys, now what I'm going to do next is reflect the parts that need to be reflected, meaning the body and the chest. You might be thinking, why not the arm? But I'm going to show you why in a second. So I'm going to select the warp deformer of body and warp deformer of chest, modeling, parameter, reflect motion, reflected. Okay, now our body is reflected, but our arm now should transform accordingly to this other rotation. So what we're going to do next is manually adjust it. I'm going to select the warp deformer of arm, and I'm going to transform accordingly, okay? I'm going to rotate it a little bit so I can give it a little bit of a more soft movement kind of thing, okay? Alright guys, we finished our body X movements for now. This is pretty neat. Now we're going to go to the body Y movements, but there is something to take into account here. If we go back to our angle X and angle Y parameters, we remember that when we went up or positive, our character looked up, and in negative if looked down, and also our eyes in the eyeball positioning. When we go to positive in the y-axis, we go up, and negative down, right? But in the body y parameter, we shouldn't think like that. It should be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is create 3 keyforms on the body y parameter, and when we go to the negative keyform, our body is not going to go down like this, because it doesn't make sense. Instead, we're going to create a little bit of a three-dimensional effect, okay? Meaning that if our body goes down, it's because our head is going to look down. But the trick here is that our body is going to make an illusion of moving forwards. And when we go positive, our body should make an illusion of going backwards. I mean, it's really similar, but I like to approach it with this thinking process, because it's going to make our character look much more lively, if that makes sense. Let me show you. Now, doesn't look like much, right? But this should happen, this kind of movement, like leaning forward. This is going to be enhanced with the chest of our character. So, if we think that our character is leaning forward, the chest should go down a little bit, right? Something like that, maybe not so much. Something like this, okay? Now, when we go up, it's going to be the opposite. We're going to lean backwards. Alright guys, now we have our chest Y position as well. Look at this. Oh, there we go. Up and down. So you guys can see there is some sort of leaning backwards and forwards, and well, that's what I was trying to explain before, right? Now, the last thing we need to do in the body Y, it's actually animate the arms, right? So when we go down, we need to think like, what should we do with our arms? So I like to think that we would make our arms move a little bit like this. Okay? Like if we were leaning forward, we open our arms a little bit. And when we go upwards, we should make our arms go a little bit behind us. Let's see how this looks. Oh, this looks actually pretty cute. Forwards, backwards, forwards. I like it. I like how it turned out. Now, once we have the upper body animations done, we can continue with our body Y. But before that, I'm going to duplicate the arm so we can see all the movement as a whole. So I'm gonna select the deformer, the arms and hands, and duplicate it, copy paste. Remember to erase the rotation deformer that comes with the dupe, and well, select everything, right click, reflect horizontally, yes, check that the hierarchy system on the parts tab it's correct. So the arms and hands should be behind the belly, and now we have this. Let me show you. X, pretty cute, and Y. Really neat. Hi guys, quick disclaimer here. I was looking at this and you guys can see that our arms move in a weird way, and I forgot something. When I reflected the arm, I did not reflect the parameter. So I'm going to select the warp deformer, right click it, reflect, and instead of reflecting horizontally, I'm just going to reflect the body X because we already reflected the arm before, and this should fix it. Now our arms should do this movement. Now, something cool here. We don't need to link parameters. We are basically done with the body X and Y. Alright guys, now on to our next parameter, the infamous body C parameter. Now, the body C is actually really easy. Just the same as the angle C in our head, the one that let us do this. It's basically that. But in terms of hierarchy system, we need to take into account the following things. I'm going to go to my rotation deformer creation tool, and I'm going to make a rotation deformer on the hips of my character, right? Yeah, somewhere over there. Now, I'm going to go to the naming, and I'm going to call it upper body rotation. I hope I spelled that right. So all the deformers that we've made today, we're going to put them inside that. But also we're going to put our head C rotation deformer inside it, because if we do not, our head is going to stay in the same place. Matter of fact, I'm not going to do it so I can show you. I'm going to select the upper body rotation, and I'm going to go to body Z parameter. I'm going to create 3 keyforms, and I'm going to rotate just a tiny bit. And now our body rotates, but look at this. Our face does not rotate at all. We're going to go to our deformer tab, and head C, we're going to put it inside the upper body rotation deformer. Once that's done, surprise, surprise, all the body rotates. Alright guys, now we finish our upper body animation, but we're missing something. We're missing our legs and, well, the belly. So the legs and the belly, since they are really simple in this case, I want them to still be interactive, right? If my character moves, those parts of the body should move as well. So I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to create a warp deformer. And check this out. I'm going to go to the body Y parameter. I'm going to create 3 keyforms and I'm going to do this. When we go forward, our legs should go a little bit to the back, right? Or at least they should lean forward as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to transform them like this. Now I'm going to go with the upper part. Alright guys, now look at this. Once we made our interactions and the body Y, our body gives the illusion of moving backwards and forwards. That's awesome, but I don't know if you guys noticed something. Our head does not move forwards or backwards, right? So we're basically almost done, but I'm going to make some adjustments in the regards of the head. So since I don't want to move the head with the head rotation deformer because it's going to record information in these keyforms and I don't want to touch them, what I'm going to do is, while selecting the head rotation deformer, I'm going to create a new warp deformer. Now you guys can see that this small warp deformer appears, and if we go to our deformer tab, it says curved surface is the parent of the head Z rotation that contains, well, everything, right? So I'm gonna change this. How about head position correction? Because I want to be really specific with this. So what I'm going to do is make position corrections on the Y-axis. I'm gonna create 3 keyforms, and if we lean forward, our character is going to feel like it's leaning forward, like this. And if we go back, we should go back like this. How about that? Isn't this cute? It's actually pretty cute. Alright guys, we finished for today. We have the body Y movement that is leaning forwards and backwards, and also we have the body X that will be left and right, and we have the body Z that will be the rotation of the upper part of the body. Well guys, that will be all for today. Thank you so much for watching. And in our next video, we're going to finally finish this first series on the channel. We're going to learn how to export our character into Live2D. Not that we haven't done that before, but I'm going to show you how to use all the features of Live2D in favor of your character customization there. So, I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you have a nice day. Bye bye guys!